Hi, this is David Pike, Motorcity Mechanic. Now today I've got a topic I want to discuss. It's something new that I've kind of brought up as far as my videos. I'm going to start discussing some topics and bringing some people in from time to discuss things. Today I've got a topic that's come up recently that I'm kind of heated about. I'm kind of passionate about at the moment. And what that is idle time versus mileage, and when that has an effect on your maintenance, such as oil changes mainly. What we've got lately in the shop is a lot of patrol cars that are having problems with the engines as far as camshafts and lifters. And what we're noticing is when we start looking at the numbers on the cluster, we can actually pull up the total idle time versus the total engine time. And one of them that we got in the shop, I'm going to go ahead and quote some numbers on so you'll see, is we've got one that's got exactly almost 4,000 total engine hours on. And as far as the total idle time, 2,000 hours. So that basically means half of its life is spent idling. Of course, it's a patrol car. Sit still somewhere, if the light's on all night long, whatever they're doing, traffic, whatever it is. So this is where it comes into the fact of your maintenance, because I'm going to throw some numbers at you. Hopefully I don't overwhelm you with them, but I will also put them off to the side of the screen, and I'll mention them once or twice. Well, we've got 4,000 total engine hours, 2,000 idle hours. So the industry standard for 1 hour idling is 25 miles driven. So keep that in mind, because we're going to use that number over and over. So those 2,000 hours that we mentioned that was idling, let's use that 25 mile conversion that I just mentioned. What's that equate to? 50,000 miles. That's also 50,000 miles no maintenance, because keep in mind, that's not registered on the odometer. That's undocumented time. So what do we do with that? So the vehicle has 80,000 miles on it. That's actual odometer miles, driven miles. So let's go ahead and factor in the 50,000 miles that we've already calculated using our conversion based off the engine idle time. What's that equate to? 130,000 miles in theory on that engine. So that brings me back to the maintenance. Now we're seeing how the undocumented times have an effect on your mileage. Let's see how it has an effect on the maintenance. For example, internally what they're doing at the repair facility where they're doing maintenance on these patrol cars, they're changing the oil every 4,000 miles, which is 4,000 miles versus 4 months, whichever comes up first. So let's break it down into individual days, because that's going to help us calculate everything. And like I said, I'm going to show you the numbers, so don't feel overwhelmed at the moment. We've got 30 days in a month. So we're going to go ahead and use that 4-month time interval they're using. So 30 days times 4 is 120 days, okay? Keep in mind 120 days. Let's say out of that time, each day, that vehicle is idling 4 hours a day. Now we bring back our conversion. 1 hour equals 25 miles. 4 times 25, that's 100 miles a day basically driven that is being idle, okay? Let's go ahead and do that per day, okay? Stay with me now. We've got our 120 days interval to have the oil change. 4,000 miles, 4 months. We went ahead and said that's going to be an average of 120 days to bring the vehicle back in. All right. We're also putting 100 miles a day on just idling. So 120 times 100 a day, what do we got? We've got 12,000 miles within that time frame from changing oil to bringing it back to have the oil changed again. We've accumulated 12,000 miles of undocumented maintenance. We also have to include the 4,000 miles they drove when they brought it in. What's that equate to? 16,000 miles on that oil change. They're coming back for their 4,000 mile oil change, and the vehicle has 16,000 miles in theory on the oil and the engine at that point. So what's that mean to me? What that means is we're not doing proper maintenance. And I think as an industry we're missing the ball here, because you look at generators, you look at four-wheelers, boats, airplanes, trains, heavy equipment, over-the-road trucks. How do they do their maintenance? Strictly off of the engine hours. Who uses miles? The car industry. So we're not factoring any traffic sitting. We're not factoring any kind of sitting at traffic lights, idling for long periods of time. That's just wear and tear on the engine itself and the breaking down of the oil over time that we're not even keeping into consideration. So as fleet vehicles, what they should be doing is doing their intervals as far as by hours. Now, a lot of the new vehicles, for example, this Charger, trucks, minivans I've looked into, they all have hour meters in the display. So you do have the ability to keep track of it. Now, the question comes up, well, what intervals do I use then? I know what to do as far as oil changes if I want to do every 4,000 miles. What do? You look in your owner's manual, and basically we're going to use that conversion again. Whatever miles you're using, divide that by 25. That equates to the number of hours you should be using. For example, if you're doing it at 5,000 miles, for example, that equates to 200 hours. So there you go. That's the best way to keep your vehicle up like it needs to be, because there's a couple other factors that come in that I'll be talking about later in some more videos. Items such as idling. What's the worst thing about idling? Lowest engine possible oil pressure. Temperature's up. Vehicle's not moving. It's going to wear and tear the oil over a period of time even worse. And not just that, it's also going to do wear on the inside of the engine, which is what we're seeing these days, and that's where the problem comes up. So this is just food to thought, to think about. It's up to you how you want to have your engine oil changed. You want to go by mileage, great. But if you're going to be idling or it's a fleet vehicle, I heavily recommend you do by engine hours. Take it into consideration, think about it. Any kind of comments you got about this, please feel free to let me know. Like I said, I'm kind of passionate about it at the moment, so feel free to let me know what you think. So this is the point where I ask you to thumbs up on YouTube. Also, if you can, try to like me on Facebook, and also you can follow me on Twitter. If you follow to the bottom of the video in the description, there will be a link to both of those. In the meantime, I greatly appreciate you watching, and if you got any kind of suggestions for upcoming topics, let me know in the comment section, or you can go ahead and there's an email attached to the main channel. You can go ahead and send it directly to me. In the meantime, thanks again.